Hello everybody, welcome back to the storm. It is I, Soul, and I'm bringing you guys my chapter review for 1012 of One Piece, titled Itch. Now, as much as everybody here loves the rooftop and everything that's been going on there, I think it was well within expectations that we wouldn't be getting another rooftop chapter so soon, and we were right, it's just another normal Onigashima chapter. But I believe that this chapter was actually part of the better or higher tier chapters that we've gotten that focuses on the main stuff going in the Onigashima battle. The chapter itself was very well paced, and despite being mostly a setup chapter for fights, it had a lot in there that was kind of reminiscent of pre-time skip with all the character interactions that we've been getting. Not to mention the top tier comedy that we'll get to very soon. Now, going based on the chapter title alone, I wasn't sure what to expect exactly. Now, the official translation might come up with another title for the chapter, but we're just gonna stick with Itch, which was what the scan said. So, the title is called Itch, and, you often associate itches with something annoying, so I thought that was it at first. But after reading the chapter, I believe it was more in the sense of itching for a fight. And essentially, that's exactly what this chapter is. It's a setup chapter for fights. We have Nekomamushi versus Perospero getting set up. We have Nami versus Ulti at the very end of the chapter. We have Yamato potentially going up to help Luffy on the rooftop against his 1v1 with Kaido. And then we have Kiku versus Kanjuro coming up too. And this itch that I'm talking about is clearly portrayed on all of them differently, but that sense that they're eager to fight is still there. For the cover of the chapter, there's not really much to talk about other than Oda is a goat for going the extra mile to make this, because we all know how hard it is to actually draw kids' abilities, so him going that extra mile for the cover chapter is very appreciated. Now, the chapter starts with a conversation between Izo and Kiku, and whether you love or hate the Scabbards, I think we can all respect their determination throughout the course of this arc. Even though Kiku is not explicitly saying it, I think everybody knows that she's in pain. But despite that, she doesn't even pay notice to it because that'll only make her a liability. The next thing we see is a conversation between Kawamatsu and Izo. Now, I think I need to make my stance clear on where I stand for the possibility of the raid failing. Personally, I'd love for it to happen, but I find it extremely unlikely. On one hand, we have conversations like this, where it could be interpreted as reverse psychology. Remember that Oda is first and foremost a writer, and he wouldn't write something like this without having some sort of intention behind it. On the other hand, there is dialogue like Kinemon's that rules out the possibility of this happening, unless, they do all in fact fail and die, which I highly doubt. Then, we have Kiku, who decides to go after Kanjuro. Now, on one hand, I like this matchup because Kiku will be able to redeem herself for not finishing Kanjuro off earlier, but on the other, I don't feel the emotional weight behind this incentive. I understand that Momonosuke takes top priority for Kinemon right now, but I feel like a confrontation between him and Kanjuro would have had a lot more impact than with Kiku, seeing as how Kinemon actually has a lot more travel time with Kanjuro, sailing from Dressrosa, or even before then. And not only that, but the main reason is because Kinemon is the leader of the group. Despite being not one of the strongest at all, he still assumes that role, and because of this, he's largely responsible for Kanjuro's betrayal, especially since when they were sailing to Onigashima, he ruled out the possibility of one of them being the traitor. So yeah, I don't know, in my opinion, I believe that matchup would have been far more interesting, but we'll see where this goes. Albeit, I don't think either confrontation will be much of a fight, because even though Kiku is handicapped, Kanjuro is pretty much on death's door anyway. Now after that, the remaining Scabbards split up in different directions. Oddly enough, it seems like Kawamatsu has already somewhere in mind that he wants to go to, but I can't make any immediate connections off the top of my head. He could be going after Queen, who was in charge of Udon Prison, where he was held captive, but that seems kind of far-fetched to me. Then there's Bariete, if that's how you say his name. Yeah, because of him, Nekomamushi just charges straight for Perospero, despite not knowing any of the context that went on Whole Cake Island that led to Pedro's death. And my boy Perospero, well, technically he didn't do anything wrong, and he's just about to get jumped by Yonko Commander level character, but, well, we'll see how it plays out. I guess Nekomamushi is injured somewhat, so... Well, Parasparrow is too, so... I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. That seems kind of a weird matchup to me. It just seems like to me, Parasparrow is always getting the short end of the stick. Like, Pedro blew himself up, and they invaded his territory, and he even took his arm. So, like, it's kind of unjustified why everybody hates him so much. But anyway, I digress. Next, we cut to the first floor attic, where Yamato, Shinobu, and Momonosuke are. Here, through Shinobu's dialogue, it actually seems like she already made contact with Kinemon. I'm assuming this is obviously through Transponder Snail or Smail in the land Wano, because them meeting up wouldn't make much sense at this point. It's far too soon, and Kinemon is going to where Momonosuke is right now, so I'm pretty sure that's what happened there. And then we have some peculiar dialogue with Momonosuke, and it actually seems like he has a pretty good grasp of the Voice of All Things ability. He's actually able to use it purposely now. Now, one thing that's interesting in Momonosuke's dialogue is that he says that Luffy is losing strength, but he doesn't point out Kaido, and that's kind of worrying. Now, he says there are only two voices, and that's what gives Yamato the incentive to go up and help Luffy, because through her dialogue, it actually seems like she doesn't believe that Luffy would beat Kaido in a 1v1 situation. And, you know, it's obviously justified. It's her father. He's one of the strongest beings on the planet, and Yamato only butted heads with Luffy a couple times and doesn't exactly know who he is. Now, I hope we get a little more backstory for Yamato. Maybe more about her lineage and family and her relationship with her father, because we haven't really gotten much of that, and we might get it when she reaches the rooftop, but I'd like it before that also, because it gives a little more build up to that eventual moment when they meet. Now we have Momonosuke that actually read Oden's journal. Now, what this could mean for the future of the series, I am not sure. I was in the camp that Momonosuke would actually join the Straw Hat Pirates at some point and travel across the world, but if his journal contains all the secrets of the world and everything he experienced, I think that rules out the possibility of Momonosuke actually joining the crew. Because realistically, what would he have to accomplish if he already knows everything that there is? Is his goal to be as great of a man as Oden? Would that even be a requirement to join the crew though? Would he accomplish that by joining the Straw Hat Pirates? I'm not sure. I don't think so. And then we come across this. It's my personal favorite part of the chapter. It had me dying the first time I read it. It's classical One Piece. It's just great. I literally can't look at this and not laugh. It's just perfect in more ways than one. Now we get a brief flashback of what actually happened. Law switched out flying debris from midair, and they actually happened to fall upon where Sanji was running. Now Zeus was there too, but he ran away after hearing Nami's name. Justifiably so, after what happened in Whole Cake Island. But the funny part here is that Law is the doctor in all this, and he's giving Zoro to Sanji, who has no medical experience whatsoever, and he just trusts him with a limp body of Zoro's. I found that pretty hilarious, and the dialogue here is actually pretty interesting too, because it seems like Law is actually going toward where Big Mom is. Now, this could mean we could get a matchup between Big Mom and Law and Kid. That's pretty interesting. I want to see Law and Kid actually work together. I think that's a pretty interesting dynamic we could have there. Now, back to Sanji. It seems like he actually took Zoro and broke into a medical office, and, you know, having no medical experience whatsoever, he did the best he could, and, well, I guess that's what he came up with. I mean, it gets the job done, I guess, so there's that. Now, although it is really subtle, I like how Zoro falls asleep after knowing that Sanji has a grasp of the situation at hand, because it kind of shows her trust a lot, because even though they have a rivalry going on and they're in a love-hate relationship, Zoro still trusts Sanji just as much as the rest of the crew, so I thought this was a great moment as well. And through Sanji's dialogue, it's actually pretty apparent that he's really worried about Zoro, and he actually respects the fact that he went up there and took a beating and fought two of the strongest beings on the planet and came out, well, in the state he's in, even though it isn't the best. Later, Sanji met up with Izo and Kawamatsu, And based on Zoro's remarks, it actually seems like they're going to the live stage where Marco, Queen, King, Chopper, and these people are at. Now, I'm sure that Izo and Kawamatsu will have their matchups, but I'm not sure exactly what will happen to Sanji, seeing as how he has the Meito Zoro cross with him. I don't see Zoro participating in this battle anytime soon, looking at the condition he's in, which makes it all the more curious as to what Sanji's gonna do exactly. Like, is it gonna go hide Zoro somewhere and then join the fight? Or, I know this might sound ridiculous, but what if he actually uses Zoro as a weapon, kind of how Zoro used Usopp as a weapon in Eni's lobby? I think that would be pretty hilarious. I don't think it's gonna happen because it doesn't really help Zoro's condition, but I'd love to see it. Now we finally make it to the last part of the chapter with Alti, Usopp, Big Mom, and Nami, which is exactly where we left off last chapter. Now obviously Page 1 is out of commission, he has his head buried into the ground. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out for, but he's out of commission for now. And that actually gives Alti the incentive to go and charge towards Big Mom, which everybody expected was going to happen. And Nami, being the person that she is, tries to take advantage of the situation and the fact that they both want to kill each other, Big Mom and Alti. And it kind of backfires because Big Mom actually still wants to kill the Straw Hats. Thank God for that. I thought Mother Mode was going to be like the switching point for Big Mom where she becomes an ally. Thank God that didn't happen. It seems like she's only like that to Otama, which is still an ally of the Straw Hats, but I don't think Big Mom cares for that aspect as much. So that's reassuring to see. And another hilarious part of the chapter was when Nami's plan to sway Big Mom backfired, and she turns towards Alti to get some support there, but that backfires too, and then they're all shitting their pants as they're running away. But I love the turning point where Nami acts cowardly, but once a child is put into danger, she actually flips the switch. And we've seen this aspect of her and this strong bond with children as far back as Arlong Park and all throughout Punk Hazard. I just really love this aspect of Nami's character because, you know, all throughout her childhood she was forced to face torment and violence, and she doesn't want that to happen to other little kids. And not only that, but also with how Belle Mare treated Nami and Nojiko. You know, they were strangers and she didn't know them, but she took them in as her family anyway. And even though they weren't related by blood, she still considered them as family. So of course, because of this, Nami is going to have a soft spot for children. And I love it every goddamn time. Now, based on the cliffhanger for this chapter, we'll be getting an Alti versus Nami fight in 1013. But we won't be because this is Oda, and we know Oda likes skipping, so he's gonna skip this. We're gonna go somewhere else, guaranteed. You know, I'd love to see Who's Who versus Jinbei. What the hell happened to that? We haven't gotten into that at all. We got like one panel, a tiny snippet of it. Jinbei needs a full-fledged fight. If we don't get that, I'll be severely disappointed because he's the newest addition to the crew, and he needs some kind of screen time right now. And I think that pretty much sums up everything for this chapter review. Now, overall, I think it was well-paced. It had great comedy. I love the interactions we're seeing. Nothing too crazy happened, but I think that was well within expectations. So I think I'll give this chapter overall a 7 out of 10. If anybody watched this far, I want to give you my sincere thanks, and I will see you all again next week.